Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Film for Fans podcast, the podcast from movie fans for movie fans. I am your host, Ryan Dunlevy, and joined by the Nashville SC jersey clad Rob Dunham.
Yeah, it's a nice and yellow day outside, so
Oh, yeah.
why not wear the yellow jersey?
Yes, up here in the Northeast, it's nice and warm and very spring-like.
Yeah.
At least for today.
Yeah. Tomorrow it'll be 10 degrees and snowing. Just watch.
Yes. Who knows? Well, we've got an excellent podcast for you. We're going to talk about the box office results. We are going to recommend movies to watch on Netflix and Amazon Prime. We'll cover what's coming up in the box office, and we will do our watch list. All right, Rob, are you ready to get started with the box office?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Number one in its first week on the charts, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. That's right. Sonic was dominant. 72.1 million, which is not an insignificant figure. That's pretty amazing. Morbius in its second Morbius. Geez, why do I keep doing that? Morbius.
You need to write yourself a little note card.
I know. Well, it's written right in front of me. It does. Yeah. Once something gets stuck in your head, it just doesn't. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, Morbius in its second week did 10.2 million. It has a two-week total of 57 million. The Lost City was third in its third week in the box office at 9 million. It has a total run of 68.7 million. Ambulance in its first week in the box office, 8.7 million. And The Batman, 6.5 million. And that one has racked up a total of 359 million for its 6-week run. All right, Rob, what do you make of Sonic pulling in that figure and anything else in the box office?
I'm not really surprised by Sonic doing so well. The first one was well received, I think, and made people interested in going to see the second one. I think Jim Carrey is a part of that draw too, as Dr. Robotnik. I think Ben Schwartz does a great job as Sonic, and the animation is really high quality. So I think that it's a movie that a lot of people want to go see and want to take their kids to, and definitely a family movie. I actually went and saw it last night, so I'll have some more to say about it a little later. But yeah, I'm not surprised it did well off the success of the first one.
Yeah, I am surprised it did this well. I mean, that's a big figure for what's ostensibly a kids movie. I don't know that you have a whole lot of adult couples going out to see Sonic the Hedgehog, but it's pretty impressive. I mean, I did not see the first one. And this one wasn't a huge appeal to me. So the number of 72 million really leaps off the page, especially when you have had so few movies even approach $100 million. This might be a sign that even further sign that box office is starting to recover when a movie like this can do 72 million. I'm happy about it. That's great. What did you make of Ambulance only rolling in at 8.7?
I'm not shocked by that. I think that there's not a huge amount of people who are invested in Michael Bay anymore.
Yeah.
So I don't know if people are as interested in the brand of him as they would have been in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
So it's not too much of a shock to me. I still plan on going to see it. But I'm not surprised it didn't make a ton of money. I also think that it's impressive how much staying power legs Batman still has.
Yeah.
And that's doing very well for DC there. So I think it's worthy of the success it's had for sure.
Yeah, and I think the Lost City probably is pretty much where I would have expected it to be for that type of movie, and it's had reasonable staying power in its third week. If you look at the list of what's of the top 5, that's the only one that you could say that is like would be closer to a date night movie. So that has that going for it. But yeah, it's an interesting box office spread because you have two kind of superhero movies, an adventure romance type movie, an action movie, and a kids movie. That's a pretty good mix for your top five. A little bit for everybody on that one. Okay, so that's what the results from last week's box office. We have two main releases coming out this week. Number one is Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore. This will be the third installment of the Fantastic Beasts series, the spinoff of the Harry Potter series. And for this one, the plot is Albus Dumbledore assigns Newt and his allies with a mission related to the rising power of Grindelwald. So, of course, you have Eddie Redmayne is back as Newt. Jude Law takes on the role of Albus Dumbledore. Ezra Miller is in this one, Dan Fogler. And you have Mads Mikkelsen as the new Gellert Grindelwald taking over for Johnny Depp, which will be interesting. The second movie, and we'll get into each of them as we come along. The second movie is Father Stu, and this follows the life of Father Stuart Long, a boxer turned priest who inspired countless people during his journey from self-destruction to redemption. And the main characters here are Mel Gibson and Mark Wahlberg. All right, Rob, those are your two entrants. What do you make of them?
So out of the two, I'm definitely more interested in the Harry Potter movie, because my kids for sure will want to see that. So I'm sure we'll all go see that. I'm very interested in seeing if they like address the fact that Grindelwald is played by a new person, because it's going to be really weird either way.
Yeah.
And I still don't really agree with their decision to make that change because of the reasons behind it and what ended up coming out about the whole Johnny Depp Amber Heard situation. It seems like he was treated very unfairly in this, and I'm not cool with that.
Yeah.
So I really wonder if they're going to address that at all, because you feel like they would have to somehow.
You would think, but they didn't address the change in actor of Dumbledore in the first series after the death of Richard Harris. They just kind of moved on with a different actor. So yeah. I'm guessing they won't unless it's beneficial to the plot for them to do so. Yeah. I want to be interested in Fantastic Beasts: The Secret of Dumbledore. I want to be. Because the idea of a young Dumbledore is very, very interesting and very, very intriguing. However, the first two just haven't been great. The first two movies have really lacked a lot of the things that the Harry Potter series brought. The sense of wonder and all around the magical world, a well-written, well-thought-out plot, like characters you really care about. I've had a hard time relating to the Newt character. I just haven't found him that interesting. And it just, so far, the first two movies haven't worked for me. And I'm just concerned that they've got too much negative momentum around this series for this one to redeem itself. But bringing it back to Hogwarts, and I think Jude Law is an excellent choice for a young Dumbledore. So we'll see, I guess. I hope it's good, but my hope is not too high. Father Stu looks like an interesting story. You can always get into more character development type stuff, and movies that do well in the character development. I think the combination of Mel Gibson and Mark Wahlberg is interesting. I think there could be a lot of intrigue around those character relation, but we shall see. Yeah, so that's what's coming out in the box office this week. And of course, most of the other movies we talked about in the top 5 will still be out there. Make sure you check out your local theater. And now let's move on to our discussion for the week. It's been a little while since we've done one of these where we recommend movies on some of the streaming services. The full list will be up on our website in the next couple of days. So make sure you check out filmforfans.com in order to get your movie recommendations, which also includes our top movies from 2021, which you still need to check out if you haven't done that. So make sure you visit filmforfans.com. But today we're going to be recommending movies from Netflix and Amazon Prime. So Rob has tackled Netflix and I have tackled Amazon Prime. So let's let Rob go first. So Rob, which movies are you recommending?
Obviously there's a ton on Netflix and a lot of original content on Netflix. We've talked about the maybe not super high quality, in our opinion, of at least movies when it's come to Netflix and some other online sources.
Yeah.
But the first one I would recommend, and it's not necessarily because it's a great movie, but just because I think it's maybe one of the better Netflix original things that they've done so far, is Don't Look Up, with Leonardo DiCaprio, that just was nominated for Best Picture at the most recent Oscars. I just think it's a movie, if you're a movie fan, that you should see so you can at least talk about it. Whether you like it or not, I'm not sure. I enjoyed it. I don't think it was a great movie by any stretch, but I did think it was funny, and I did think there was a worthwhile message to it about not being arrogant and focused on ignoring things, trying to pay attention to things that are happening around you in the world. So Don't Look Up. The second one I'm recommending is Fun with Dick and Jane, starring Jim Carrey and Téa Leoni. If you have not seen this is a really funny movie about a couple who pulls off a lot of heists and shenanigans. It's as Ryan said, it's like good date movie, or a movie if you want to watch with your significant other. But it's just funny too if you want to watch it by yourself. Going completely different direction for the last 3. These are all more serious movies.
Okay.
Argo, starring Ben Affleck,
Yeah.
talks about the rescue of hostages from the United States Embassy in Iran when the Shah was being overthrown there. Very tense movie. I really like this story because I didn't know this story before I saw the movie. And this is based on a true story. It's actually happened.
Yeah.
That they essentially sent Ben Affleck's character over there under the guise of producing a movie when he was really trying to get these people out of this really bad situation. And there's a lot of drama, and it's intense, and a lot of high stakes and emotion. I think it's a really well done movie.
Yeah. And I believe it won Best Picture a number of years ago too.
Yeah.
One of the last ones that was actually a worthy Best Picture.
My fourth recommendation would be The Book of Eli, with Denzel Washington and Gary Oldman. Gary Oldman again being like completely unrecognizable,
as always.
As this like town despot who's in control of the water in the town, and water being like the most valuable resource, and literature as well. He's also in control of a lot of that. There are a lot of post-apocalyptic movies out there. This is one of my favorites, if not my favorite. And I enjoy the religious themes in this movie as well too. If you're into that sort of thing, it's a very interesting thing to watch from that perspective. Yeah, because I think, and it's funny because I've just had this discussion with somebody else that there are a lot of movies that are produced by Christian studios organizations that are ostensibly Christian that are, in my opinion, not good.
Yeah.
And this movie was not produced by a Christian organization, and it might be a better Christian movie than most of the Christian movies that exist.
Yes. Mm-hmm. we need to remember it still needs to be a form of art.
Yes.
You know, it still does.
I mean, there's certainly by no stretch is it like a family movie. There is violence. There is a lot of rough stuff, but the rough stuff is the reality of the world that this character lives in.
Yeah.
And that's why I think I like it so much, because it seems authentic.
Fun side story about this one. When this movie came out, I was working at Sunglass Hut, and the sunglasses that Denzel Washington wears in this one are made by Oakley, or were made by Oakley. They don't make them anymore. And I could not keep these things in stock after that movie came out. Everyone just kept coming in looking for them, and we just didn't have them. And we kept trying to get them to order them in, and it was a big thing.
Yeah. The last one I would recommend is the movie Rush, starring Chris Hemsworth and Daniel Bruhl. Chris Hemsworth plays James Hunt, and Daniel Bruhl plays Niki Lauda, two drivers in F1. Back in, I believe it's the 70s or 80s. I can't remember.
It's the late 70s, but I'm not sure. Yeah.
And it tells the story of their rivalry. And I've been getting more into Formula One lately, so it's cool to just see some of the stories from previously in that series. And it is a very highly competitive, very tense world, even to this day. And I didn't know that story before watching the movie. Obviously, it is Hollywoodified a little bit, but I think that it's a cool story to watch. And even if you're not a motorsports fan, I would say, much like Ford versus Ferrari, it's worth watching, even if you don't care about cars at all, because you will care about the characters. I think that's the important thing. And it was directed by Ron Howard, correct? Rush?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So I would recommend Rush as well. So the 5 again for me: Don't Look Up, Fun with Dick and Jane, Argo, The Book of Eli, and Rush.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. Good job there on recommendations, Rob. So now we'll move on to Amazon Prime. And for me, I'm going to start out with the movie I just started watching again yesterday, and it's Oh Brother, Where Art Thou from the year 2000. Just an absolutely incredible movie on a number of different levels. The plot is, if you're not familiar, in the Deep South in the 1930s, 3 escaped convicts search for hidden treasure while a relentless lawman pursues them. It is a retelling of Homer's The Odyssey. And this movie is incredible on a number of levels. Stars George Clooney, John Turturro, John Goodman. There's 2 things that have stood out in this. One, the dialogue is absolutely incredible. The dialogue is ridiculous and fantastic and off the wall. It's there's so many lines in this movie that really just gets you. It's just fantastic writing. It's script writing at its best in terms of dialogue. Almost every line is said in a different, interesting way. And every piece of dialogue is witty and intelligent. And there's so many jokes that you have to catch in the subtle moments. And it's fantastic. The second thing that stands out for this one has been the music. There's a lot of music in this one. It really pulls from like the old time Deep South kind of religious hymn type gospel type music, and it's really catchy. Even if you're not into that type of music, the music that they produce for this one is really good throughout, led by the recurring song Man of Constant Sorrow, which is really well done. Uh, so if you have never seen Oh Brother Where Art Thou or thought it looked like a weird movie not in your genre, it absolutely is something you have to see.
Yeah, this would probably be, if it's not my top 10 all time, it's got to be close. Again, I have to sit down and make that list at some point, but
Yeah.
it is very high up on my list.
Yeah, this is one of the best from Joel and Ethan Coen.
Yeah, I think this is the epitome of what the Coens are. I mean, some people might argue Fargo, but I would say this, with the music added, just is another dimension that I think is really like for me, it's the best movie they've done.
The second one comes from the same year, year 2000. This is one of my favorite movies, probably top 5, but I would have to make that list out. Definitely top 10. Unbreakable. Unbreakable from the year 2000, directed by M. Night Shyamalan. Controversial opinion, this is M. Night Shyamalan's best movie. And it's about a man who learned something extraordinary about himself after a devastating accident. It is a down-to-earth superhero movie. It's a stealth superhero movie. It's a very stealth superhero movie, but this to me is the epitome of what M. Night Shyamalan brings. His use of color to signify importance, and particularly the color purple in this movie. The interesting, unusual camera angles that you see throughout the movie. The understated dialogue, which is in some cases is the critique of M. Night Shyamalan, that he's weird at writing dialogue, but I think it gives it a unique element to it. And just the compelling nature of the back and forth between Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson, with the son, his son Joseph, as the foil between the two. There's so much to like about this movie. It's so intriguing, and the payoff is so good for it.
Yeah, this is my favorite superhero movie of all time.
Yeah.
And going into it, you wouldn't know it's a superhero movie.
Yes, I know.
So
yeah.
I love it because it slowly unfolds, and you kind of, through Joseph's eyes, you kind of see what his dad really is happening as the movie goes on, which I really like. It's not like just one massive reveal. It's like little by little you realize what's been going on with this guy and who Samuel L. Jackson's character is in relation to him too.
Yeah. The third one on my list is the 2008 film Valkyrie. And this one, at the time, like United Artists was a struggling theater or studio, really put all their weight behind this movie. And it did not, I don't think it ever got the attention it really deserved. But this was about it's based off of the true story of the July 20th, 1944 assassination attempt on Adolf Hitler. Some of his own generals attempted to assassinate him, in particularly led by Colonel Klaus von Stauffenberg. And this movie basically tells about that plot. And it is a fascinating World War II film. This was something before this movie came out that I was not aware of. I was not aware of this assassination attempt and how close it actually came. And it's really compelling. Tom Cruise plays Klaus von Stauffenberg. Bill Nighy is in this. Carice Van Houten, Kenneth Branagh, Tom Wilkinson. There really is Terrence Stamp, Eddie Izzard. There's a lot of actors in this one that you'll recognize. But the intrigue and the plot and the mystery behind it is really good. And there's a tragic sense about it, in that if only this had succeeded, how much would have been different had this succeeded. And it really does give the tale that there were people within the German country who recognized what was going on and were attempting to stop it from the inside. Really fascinating movie. Okay. The next one on my list is The Courier. And The Courier is a newer movie. It came out in 2020, starring Benedict Cumberbatch, Rachel Brosnahan. And it's about a businessman is asked by a Russian source to try and help him end the Cuban Missile Crisis. Basically, an ordinary average businessman is recruited to be a spy in Russia and help end the Cold War. So it's about Benedict Cumberbatch being an undercover spy within the Soviet Union in the heart of the Cold War. So you get a lot of that intense spy drama. The characters are really good in this one. Anyone who loves spy films is going to love this one. There's a hint of Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy in this one in terms of its feel and in terms of its laid out drama, and really another true story that has been undertold up to this point. So that's another good one. Did you see this one, Rob?
I haven't seen that, and as you're talking about it, it makes me want to see it.
Yeah. It's really worth seeing. It's really worth seeing. So the next one I'm going to recommend is This Means War. And this is an interesting movie in that it's like an action romantic comedy. So it's really kind of it's a fascinating movie. It's a genre bending movie. And it's about CIA operatives wage an epic battle with each other when they discover they're dating the same woman. So two friends who are spies end up accidentally dating the same woman, and then basically start an internal civil war about this. And it stars Reese Witherspoon, Chris Pine, and Tom Hardy. The character interplay is great. The use of Reese Witherspoon as they keep bouncing back and forth between her and them is really funny. There's a lot of explosions, a lot of insane action, a lot of going way over the top to win Reese Witherspoon. It's a good rivalry movie. So you do have it all. Like you have moments of wit and funny, romantic moments, lots of explosions. There's really something for everybody in this movie. It's a fun movie.
Yeah, I saw this soon after it came out. I haven't seen it since, but it might be worth checking out again.
Yeah. And I'll throw in one more just because it's a ridiculous movie. It's an absolutely ridiculous movie, and you should watch it because it's an absolutely ridiculous movie. And that's Men at Work from 1990, starring Charlie Sheen and Emilio Estevez. It is not a good movie, but it is an outlandish, ridiculous movie. It's a poor man's weekend at Bernie's. Basically, Emilio Estevez and Charlie Sheen are low-life trash men who, on their normal route, where they are being supervised by a crazed Vietnam veteran, find a dead body on their trash route. And then they spend the rest of the movie hauling this dead body around as they get caught up in the plot of who killed him. And it leads to a lot of ridiculousness, and it's fun. I enjoy it. So, Men at Work. All right, that's our recommendations. And we'll have a few more in there on the website. Make sure you go to filmforfans.com and check them out. All right, let's move on to our watch list. Movies that we watched over the past week. And Rob, what'd you watch?
So I saw Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Okay, let's hear about it.
With my kids, taking advantage of, and if you have a Regal near you, I think AMC does something similar too. Maybe worth checking out to see if they have a discounted day. The Regal near me is on Tuesdays, so instead of like 10 something a ticket, it was 5 something a ticket. So that's a pretty significant difference, especially if you're considering taking family to a movie. I wasn't like blown away by this movie, but I thought it lived up to what the standard of the first one set. And I think that the reason why these movies have done so well mainly is the nostalgia factor. I think there are a lot of people our age who are interested in going to see it, and maybe even without necessarily having kids to go see it. People who have played the games when they were younger.
Yeah.
Obviously, taking Sonic from the games to like a movie format, it's not like the games, completely different. It's a whole another world. Like Sonic is around our world now, which is an interesting
Yeah.
take on things. Um, like I said, I think Ben Schwartz does a really good job as Sonic. Um, I think that he is very expressive in the role and has the right energy for it. I think the animation style that they ended up going with after some backlash to the initial animation style was the right choice, and it fits the character. The movie was full of references, and some I kind of rolled my eyes at. Um, but there were some very funny ones. I think my favorite funny one is they are in this temple run kind of scenario where they're trying to navigate a maze to go get this gem. And Jim Carrey and a spoiler alert, Knuckles is in this movie, although it's not really a spoiler alert because he's in the trailer. Knuckles and Tails are both in this movie, characters from the Sonic series. And they're being chased down this hall by a giant ball, kind of like Indiana Jones. The whole scene is like homage to Indiana Jones. And Jim Carrey's character goes, "I don't want to die like this. It's derivative." And I thought that was hilarious.
Nice.
um, I I enjoy the humor in the movie. It is family friendly. Sonic can be a little annoying, but he's not crass or unnecessary. So I'm not surprised it made a good amount of money, and I would recommend going to see Sonic if you can. And just gonna throw this in here because we didn't talk about it earlier on any of the podcasts, but a trailer came out for a movie that I'm really excited about in June 24th. Marcel the Shell with Shoes On is coming out as a movie.
Okay.
I don't know how many of you may know the YouTube videos that came out in the early 2010s with Marcel the Shell. But
No.
he was voiced by Jenny Slate, who also voiced Gidget in The Secret Life of Pets, the annoying white little dog. Mayor Bellwether the mayor's assistant Bellwether in the movie Zootopia, and Harley Quinn in Lego Batman. So she's done some really major things, and the YouTube videos were kind of before all that. But now they've made a movie out of it with her voicing Marcel and her actually ex-husband directing the movie. So it's a really interesting thing that they still close enough as people to do that. And it looks like it's going to be a very poignant, emotional kind of movie. So I'm looking forward to seeing it and seeing what they do with an animated shell. And if you have not seen the YouTube videos, I would recommend there's at least 3 of them. Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. Little funny short videos about the life of a shell if it was alive, walking around.
Interesting. Yeah. And
also, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent is coming out in like 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yes. All right. We'll have to do it. We'll have to do a full podcast breakdown when it comes out. Yeah. That only us will be interested in. All right. For me, I watched 2 things this week. There's a new documentary on HBO Max about Tony Hawk called Until the Wheels Fall Off. Tony Hawk, of course, the legendary skateboarder, probably the most famous skateboarder who ever lived. And it's really well done. It's a real big character study on Tony Hawk. It's not just about skateboarding. It's really much, much more about him as a person and who he is, how he came to be the way he is. And it's told as much through his peers and how they perceived him as it is through him. And it's fascinating. It really is. And just the up and downs of the skateboarding world and what that has meant. I mean, Tony Hawk, there's one point where he talks about him being 17 and making six figures skateboarding, still going to high school, making six figures of skateboarding, like owning his own house with his own skate park while in high school. It's a mind-blowing story. It really, really is. I thought they were going to spend more time on the Tony Hawk video games, because I don't know about you, but that's how I got introduced to Tony Hawk, playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater in college, and how huge the Tony Hawk video games were. And that was my complete introduction to him. But they spent some time talking about it, but just a little. But it really, really is interesting. If you've ever been intrigued by him or by the skateboarding world in general, it's worth checking out. The second one I saw, let's just say, was not as well done, and that would be the 1993 Sylvester Stallone action movie Cliffhanger. I've still tried to peruse 90s action movies, and I gotta say, like, I remember, like, there's some like supposedly iconic scenes from this that are like kind of etched in my memory when I think about this, like him hanging off a cliff or something like it. But first of all, this is supposed to be a movie about climbing. There is arguably more actual climbing in Star Trek 6 at the beginning and end when he's climbing El Capitan than there is in the movie called Cliffhanger. There's a lot of running around movies. There's a lot of gunfire around mountains. There's a lot of gunfire around mountains and cliffs. There's not that much actual climbing. This is an utterly ridiculous movie, characteristic of so many of the 90s action movies that were not quite as high quality. The plot is outlandish. The action is quite ridiculous and far-fetched. There are some genuinely ridiculous moments. There's one where two characters are fighting, and the one character talks about how he was an incredible striker in soccer, and then goes to kick the guy in the face. And for no reason, for the first time in the entire movie, they do a slow-mo on his foot traveling towards the guy's head. And then all of a sudden there's a blood trail coming. It's like, where did that come from? That was completely out of nowhere. All of a sudden we're just going to slow-mo this kick for dramatic effect. Yeah, so it's quite ridiculous. It's quite the ridiculous movie. Almost as ridiculous as the attempted accent from John Lithgow in this movie as the bad guy. It was half-hearted at best. Let's just put it that way. It was a half-hearted accent at best. John Lithgow, not known for his ability to run the accents. Yeah. If you're in the mood for a completely mindless movie that you'll want to turn off like 20 minutes before the end of it, like I did. I didn't actually do it, but I wanted to. This is the one for you, Cliffhanger. All right.
If you hate yourself, movie recommendation of the week.
Yes. Yes. Cliffhanger. Sylvester Stallone. All right. Rob, you got anything else?
I do not.
Okay. One thing to clean up from last week. We did this whole segment on mind-bending movies, and I forgot to tell everyone the impetus about why I wanted to do that segment. And that was because I've been hearing lots and lots of things about the movie Everything All at Once. I need to get this.
Everything
Everywhere all at once. I keep hearing fantastic reviews of this movie, saying it's one of the best mind-bending movies of all time, starring Michelle Yeoh. It's another A24 release. We've talked about that studio a number of times. So that was, I have not gotten a chance to see it, but it's number one on my list right now of just ones to see, because I keep hearing great things about it. So if you're in the mood for going to the theaters and you want to do another mind-bending movie, check out Everything Everywhere All at Once. All right. And that will be the show. Thanks for checking out Film for Fans. And make sure you go to filmforfans.com to get our recommendations from Netflix, Amazon Prime, our list of best movies from last year, and plenty of other content. Until next time, enjoy the movies.